Hi, I'm Angie Pontani, the burlesque superstar who has spent the last 20 years shimmying and shaking around the globe. I've performed in showrooms, ballrooms, small rooms, and big rooms, every room except a mushroom. Along the way, I've met some amazing people, and I'd like to introduce them to you. Together, we will pull back the curtain to reveal what really happens behind the glitter, feathers, and tassels. So join me for the bump and grind. Circus, comedy, and a boatload of charisma helped take today's guest to the top of the pops in record time. An award-winning boylesque sensation, a Mr. Exotic World King of Burlesque title holder, and possibly one of the tallest burlesque performers working today. That's right, I'm talking about Mr. Gorgeous. Gorgeous exploded on the scene and was part of a wave that I feel like pumped some fresh blood into burlesque, pushing production with amazing props and 3D concepts that can transform a stage and the performance on it. His self-proclaimed dorky ambition and his lightness, despite his tremendous talent, are just some of the traits that make him one of my favorite people to work with. And his skills, they don't stop on stage. Gorgeous can take a piece of spandex and turn it into a Van Gogh. His talent on a sewing machine is epic. Burlesque, boylesque, working all the angles and how to keep working are just small parts of the delightful conversation I had with the one and only Mr. Gorgeous. He's so cute. Welcome to the Bump and Grind, Mr. Gorgeous.
Thanks for having me, girl.
I'm so excited. It's so nice to see your face. It's been way, way, way too long.
I know, way too long. We've seen each other via social media, but to see you in person or live right now is great.
You look very refreshed and clean and healthy. How are you managing that in this trying time?
Well, thank you. You know, it's exercising multiple hours a day, drinking tons of water, only eating raw, uncooked vegetable. Actually,
Nice.
I've been drinking every day, partying hard, but doing all of the social distancing as we should. So, you know, kind of a little bit of everything. You look fab. How are you doing?
Oh, poo. I'm a hot mess.
Come on. What are you
Total
talking about?
disaster. No, you know, I'm hanging in there. I'm exercising every day. That I'm doing. But I've also started new hobbies like eating snacks, drinking every day. Sleeping more, staring at my phone for hours on end.
That's how it goes, though. And I mean, you're so active with all of your live dance, jazzercise moments.
I have to, or else I would go completely insane.
So good.
So I was very excited when we worked it out for you to be on the show. I'm thrilled to have you. And I think you have a very unique perspective here because I feel like you were like the start of the second wave and really made a big impact very quickly. So, but I was trying to think of when we first met. Do you remember when we first met?
First of all, thank you, Angie. That's so nice of you to say and means a lot coming from you. I feel like it's possible we might have met in Baltimore. Like years and years and years ago. Like
maybe through some creative alliance, something with Trixie and Monkey.
Yeah, that's possible.
I think that you're right, but I don't know where it was. But first of all, I had remembered like hearing about you. Everybody was talking about Mr. Gorgeous.
Oh
like,
my God.
Oh, it's true. Everybody's like, have you seen this man? He's like 8 feet tall.
No.
He looks like Superman. Yes, his hairline is perfect.
Oh, God.
He's beautiful.
That must have been a long time ago. The hairline's done. It's shot.
But I remember the first performance that I saw you do is you were a prince. You were like Prince Charming, and it was a duet with Trixie.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, that was a while ago.
It was a while ago. It's whenever I talk about these things with people now, I'm like, yeah, you know, that was like 2 years ago. No, 4, no, 6, no, 10 years ago.
That's crazy.
So that was a long time ago. And I don't remember where we were, but I remember the ceiling was huge. Like it was gigantic. And we were like, oh my God. Trixie's head is above like the rafters of the ceiling because you're so big.
Yeah, she really was getting up there pretty high.
How tall are you, Gorgeous?
Well, I'm 6'7", But
holy shit.
when I would do all like the promo stuff, I always changed it to 6'6" because it just sounded a little like, you know, a little
more
smoother.
Reasonable?
More reasonable, yeah. So, you know, it depends. At some point, I remember someone had put down 6'5" on something and that stuck. So I lost 2 inches for like 2 years, but, you know,
yeah,
I'll take it.
I'd like to gain 2 inches. That would be nice. So how did you find your way into burlesque? You were in the circus world before you crossed over into this scene, right?
Yeah. I actually, at the time, had no clue, like, what burlesque was. I mean, I understood a bit about, like, the cabaret scene and the concept of burlesque. Like, I was seeing it, but I didn't really know the assigned name, you know, the title that was being given. So I was doing a lot of circus work, working as a catcher on a flying trapeze for a few years. And then after I graduated from school in Baltimore, I was accepted to a circus program in Vermont, which is actually where I ended up meeting Trixie and Monkey a long time ago. But I was doing a doubles acrobatic act with another guy named Kevin Beverly. And we were doing this strip act as a bull and matador, essentially. So it was mostly a circus act, an acrobatic act, but we were doing a stripping concept for it. It might have been a Trixie and Monkey show. I don't know
Was this Twig and Berry?
Yeah, way back then. Well, those were our names. And the funny thing is, though, we had this act, and I got contacted by Read 'em and Weep years and years and years ago, and she was doing a fundraiser for HIV/AIDS through MAC Cosmetics. She brought us down to New York from Vermont, where we were in circus school, and we did the show, and that's where I met Tigger and Julie and Dirty and Bob and a bunch of people, and that's when Tigger was like, "Oh, how long have you been doing burlesque?" And I was like, "I don't know. Like, we just do like circus stuff and we take our clothes off." So that was my first, like, oh, I guess that I'm doing this.
You know, now that you have a name, a new home where you belong.
Right? And Tigger's big piece of advice was you have to just take off more.
Yeah, well, Tigger often gives that advice.
Yeah.
So did you then just decided to work more in the burlesque scene, or was there more work in the burlesque? Because I feel like the burlesque scene, once they like saw you, they just dug their claws in and pulled you from Vermont to Baltimore to New York.
Well,
didn't let you go.
In some ways, I was really fortunate in a lot of ways. One was the guy I was working with, Kevin, was accepted into the National Circus Program in Montreal. And since then has been the lead dancer acrobat in Cusa for Cirque du Soleil and was in many other big productions, and he's working with an Australian company right now for circus. So I kind of felt I was older for circus at that time. I was in my early 20s, mid 20s, I guess, which is like technically you're kind of, if you're going to get into training to work a show, you know, doing 10 to 12 shows a week, you're kind of done. So I kind of found the theatrical and visual nature of burlesque as like a godsend, to be honest with you. It was just like I kind of saw my people in that and thought that there could be, you know, something I could do visually or content-wise that might be interesting. So.
Yeah. Well, I feel like burlesque certainly gives artists, like, you can do anything within it, and I think that's one of the most exciting things about it that I love. And, like, I remember, didn't you, before you were a full-time performer, were you a pre-K teacher, or you worked with kids, right? I remember you telling me.
Yeah, I was
teaching. And I think that's funny.
Well, that's how I got my name.
Do tell.
Oh, my God. Are you sure? Okay, I'll give you the short story. It might take the rest of this podcast.
Oh, no.
I'm kidding. It'll be short and sweet. But basically, I was teaching art in Baltimore City, pre-K through 5. And my last name is Gorsuch. And one of my kids one day raised their hand for a question and said, "Mr. Gorgeous, I have a question." And the assistant that was in the room heard the child say Mr. Gorgeous instead of Mr. Gorsuch. And it kind of just caught on. And by the end of the day, you know, like random teachers walking down the hallway would say, "Oh, have a good weekend, Mr. Gorgeous," or whatever it was. So, I was teaching, and I still love education and kids and all of that stuff, but I kind of had to pick my battles and my path a little bit, because it's a little hard to be like a stripping adult and then teacher at the same time, especially of that age level. So, but I did get my stage name out of it, so that was a major plus.
And it's really perfect for you. And when you decided to make that your name on stage, did that affect your persona? Like, because you present yourself as this, Adonis, but you also have such humor that you inject in your performance, which I think just makes you so lovable. But when you became, were you Twig or Berries before?
I was Berries, I believe. It was so long ago.
So, was Berries in Mr. Gorgeous, or did Mr. Gorgeous then become a different kind of presence on
very,
stage?
very, very different presence, I think. The whole idea of using the name Mr. Gorgeous, I thought was like a little, for lack of better word, like douchey. I kind of thought to myself, like, I wasn't sure if I would want to use the name. And then, I think it was Monkey or Trixie or someone in that, group of people was like, no, you have to just do it. And I thought, if I'm going to take that name, I have to be, and I've always wanted to be this. I didn't ever want to be like sexy. That wasn't my goal. But I thought, if you're going to have a name like that, you really have to make people laugh and understand that, like, I'm aware of the joke, and I want them to be as well. So I think that the name really did help to inform the content and the type of work that I was making.
I think it actually totally does, and it works together perfectly, because you're just such a hunk, and you come out on stage, and you are, oh, stop it, you're a total hunk. I remember when I first met you, I was just staring at you. I was like, where does he come from? Where do they make people like this?
Well, thanks.
Not in New Jersey. Not where my people are.
I did come up the turnpike, though.
You did. You went through. They don't make them that tall where I come from.
Oh, my God.
But Mr. Gorgeous is so funny. And so he comes out and he's so handsome. He is you. And it just grabs you instantly. And then you do like some beautiful act with this gorgeous costume. And then, there's just this big gag in it. And one of my questions actually was like, do you think Mr. Gorgeous would ever do like, what we call a slow burn, like a really serious, sexy, no gimmick, slow, saucy number?
That's a great question. It's funny because I've tried actually. So I don't know if you've seen it, but I do this act as a jockey on our little horse, where I think I actually did it for the New York Burlesque Festival.
Yes, you did.
1 year. And the beginning of it is really kind of fun and silly, and me riding around this horse. And then the music changes over, and it's supposed to be this like really dark, like I think it's even like a Marilyn Manson song or something without the words. And I was like, oh, this is going to be really hot. But I found myself almost having to ask the audience for permission for them to like go on this journey of me being more like sexy and dark and seductive. So I literally, and this is one of the things I always do. I talk to the audience throughout the entire number, or scream, depending on the venue. But I remember at that point, and I still do it, where I'll actually say, this is the sexy part. And people get a laugh out of that. And then it kind of gives me a little more permission, and it allows me to be more comfortable with the idea of trying to send a little bit more of like a seductive energy,
Yeah. I find I have the same problem, and I've tried to do like slow, sexy numbers, and the minutes just tick by so slowly, and I'm up there trying to all ooze in myself, and I'm like, this is so boring. They hate it. This is boring.
No, but Angie, the thing is though, you have like what I love, and I love any chance I get to work with you, I love, because you have such a great combination of, you have a major foundation of technical ability in dance, and the way that you like hold your body and the lines that you make and your posture and the tempo that you move, like all of that fundamental is like sexy in its own way. But then you always have like that smile or the wink or whatever it is that like allows a more soft, playful moment, which is like, it's the trifecta.
Oh, and I need it. I can't, every number, like I've been backstage and I know the main, I'll be like, hey, Maine, I'm going to totally do this new act tonight, and it's really wild and crazy, and it's 80s, and it's totally different. And I'll do it, and she's like, that's all your acts. You're just wearing an 80s costume. She's like, you can't, like, your presentation, and she means it in a sweet way, but It's like, I I know my things, and it's like I always fall back on my old faithfuls.
Yeah, I mean, we all do. I have like the same vocabulary of shapes that I make, the faces that I make, and the verbiage that I say on stage. It's almost like it interchanges through 6 to 8 acts that I run fairly consistently. I have the same accents to all of them, and then they all have their own flavor as far as the act goes. But
well, it's kind of like I always say, like, you got to just think of yourself as Bon Jovi, and everybody wants to hear "Living on a Prayer." It's like you just find out what works for you and just keep doing it and just change it a little bit, so you don't get totally bored of yourself.
I agree.
Hold my hand. We're halfway there. So when you first started, you had Twig and Berries, you were a duet.
Yeah.
And then you worked with Trixie as a duet for quite a bit, right?
Yeah.
And then you were solo breakout. Do you prefer being in a duet, or do you like to be by yourself? Oh, and also you're in Boys Night Out, so like you are in a group as well. So what's your favorite dynamic?
It's hard to say because they all have their own really spectacular moments. I think that there is something about working with someone else that you get to like share the journey together, where it's like you get ready for the act, you're both a little nervous or not before it starts, and then you both celebrate, or you drink heavily because it was a terrible number or whatever it was afterwards. There's something fun about doing that. But what I've found is I think I do better when I'm working by myself, and then I'm kind of finding that like the group, when I get to tour with Burlescapades with you guys, or if it's Boys Night or whatever it is, then I get to kind of like celebrate with that group of people that are working together to put the show together. So I kind of think it's not better, but I enjoy kind of flying solo on stage. And then, I enjoy the communal aspect of working in a smaller show with people that I love.
Yeah, it's, I think, very hard to have a long-term successful relationship with a small group that constantly performs together.
Yeah, I
like
agree.
A duo or a trio. There's so many things that you have to agree on in terms of content, choreography, and costume, and where you're going, and how you get there, and just so many things, and artistically. Well, I found it to be liberating when I went solo. I mean, I missed the communal because that's such a special thing, but it's nice to kind of spread your wings and go your own way.
I agree. And, I wouldn't trade any of those partnerships for anything. I had a wonderful time, and I learned a lot about myself, and I learned a lot about how to work with other people. And that was wonderful, wonderful thing. But I don't know. I think that burlesque, although it might sound kind of hokey like any other type of art or performance art, it's kind of like a living, breathing energy, So it's like if you both don't show up to the space with the same amount of drive that day, it doesn't mean you're both not committed, but it just means like I might be having a day where I really have 5 other things on my mind, and the last thing I want to do is put on the same costume 6 times in a rehearsal.
Oh, completely.
So I think that when it's just myself, the downside is you have to be driven. You can't sit back because nobody else is going to make it happen.
So, but your comedy, right? That's in everything you do. Shanana is hilarious. Mr. Gorgeous is so funny. Even when Boys Night is performing ensemble, I always feel like you're the comic crack. You're always making those faces, and it just exudes from you. Did you study that? I mean, I know you went to circus school, but were you a little theater kid?
No, not a theater kid at all. But like my parents I was very lucky growing up, where my parents kind of fostered my weird and wacky sense of entertaining myself. So anything that I did, which was like dressing up in costumes or making crazy art projects. I mean, as a kid, like all the neighborhood kids would be outside playing football, and I fell in love with when we got an electric garage door opener to our house, because what I did was I would duct tape a bed sheet to the bottom of the garage door and then press it to open, and the curtain would rise. And then I had a karaoke machine, and I would announce myself and roller skate in and out of the curtain for the neighborhood to watch, which no one would watch but my parents. I think some parents would think, let's try to guide this, in in one way or another. And my parents were always just very positive about it. So I've always had kind of like a weird, kooky, comedic sense of fantasy. Even to this day, it's like there's so many things in my brain that I am like, oh my God, one day I have to do this. And it's just going to be stupid.
Well, I mean, that's the way you have to do it. You have to make those lists. Most of my ideas, I'm like, this is stupid.
Right?
I know, gorgeous. That's really impressive. You had a functioning curtain, a professional sound system. That's more production than half the shows in New York City downtown, man.
Well, I started young,
That's very impressive. And was there something that you saw on TV that inspired you or anything like that? That was really inspiring to you?
I think that for me, growing up, my parents always used to take us to Ringling Brothers when they would come to town. And there was something about the visual spectacle of that actually as a kid, I remember being scared at the circus, like being very scared as a younger kid. But the spectacle of all the costuming and this is a weird memory to think of, but I remember I used to love whenever there would be like a puff of smoke or something, like someone gets shot out of a cannon, there's like this puff of smoke, and the way that like the smoke would go up through the lights, and like the way that the rhinestones would sparkle for like the people in the air. It was just that whole, like, it felt otherworldly to me.
It's theater.
Which I loved. And, it's like I never did theater. I never really did that. So I guess, as an adult and going through school, I never really thought that was an option for me until I was in college and I, found a group of people that were performing on trapeze, and I had never had gymnastics background, anything. And I would just, before school I'd go, in between the day of school I'd go, and after school I would go, and I would do 2 to 3 times a day.
That's so crazy because that's just such a gutsy thing to be like, oh, I think I'm just going to go and try trapeze.
It was kind of cool. I mean, it did take a minute, because I had no understanding of it at all. But it was kind of like a now or never type situation. And I guess there are, if you look back at stuff, people always say like never have any regrets. I think I would have, if I had a regret, it would have been to maybe be a little bit more honest with myself at a younger age of what I really thought would be amazing to do and like a passionate thing to do, and not worry about, when I was in high school, I was like, oh, I'll just be a graphic designer because it's artistic, but I can work for an advertising company and I can make money. And that was my focus. And then I realized that wasn't, like, I was never going to be someone that would be driven by money. So I think it's really hard to give yourself permission to do that because you're basically like, I'm going off the rails now. Exactly. Very much so. It's like, I really do think to myself, like the fact that I have never worked a 9-to-5 job, with the exception of
ever.
I worked at Chili's for like 3 months, then I got fired. My husband worked at Chili's. Brian worked at Chili's. Stop it. Presidente margaritas all around. He totally worked at Chili's. Okay, you guys are going to have like, maybe you could do a Chili's duet. Please. With those baby back ribs. Yes, that is hilarious. But my thing has been, I'm like, well, I haven't done that before. And I thought I'm going to like push myself, and I'm never going to expect someone else take care of me financially or clean up my messes. So I thought as long as I can, pay my rent, do my thing, contribute to community in some way, shape, or form, then I'm just going to trust that like following my passion will eventually take care of me. Yeah, and that's a big responsibility, I think, as a performer, as an artist, when you just say, okay, this is what I'm going to do. Having the awareness and the responsibility to keep your finances in control and from just burying you is something that you have to take on. Yeah. Because you'll never be able to create art and work and be at peace if you're drowning in debt. And I learned that not early enough, but pretty early. Yeah, and I mean, I still, really have to. I'll be honest, it's like I still go through times where I'm like, ooh, that was not the best decision, to buy this or redo this, or, it's like I'm really loving right now my costuming business, which is slowly, I think, but surely growing. Although all of the current situations have kind of put a cap on a lot of people, investing in costuming. And I was working for or getting jobs with like some cruise lines for costuming.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Which is great, but now that's all stopped.
It's on pause.
It's on pause. It's on pause. But it's like the ups and downs of the finance of it all are certainly a thing. But I'm just trying to be smart. Actually, one thing that has been kind of helpful was Julie Atlas Muse gave me a copy of Susie Orman, Women and Money.
Yeah, yes, that's what got me straight. Susie Orman's. Oh my gosh, me and Murray Hill went on a huge Susie Orman Women and Money book, and that literally turned both of our lives around.
It's a great, it is a great book and a lot of good information. I can't say it got me straight because I'm not going back there again. I'm going to stay gay for long. but it was one of those things where I kind of like check in every now and then with it. And I think like, well, what could I do to kind of turn things around, and also like not beat myself up about the fact that there's not consistency for someone in this position.
Well, and that's what I feel like the book gives you, that information, like because I always felt like I don't make enough money to save or to invest or to do anything like that.
Right.
And that book showed me like, oh, you don't have to. You don't have to talk about like this giant commitment.
Right.
And it can be small amounts, and it doesn't have to be consistent. And I love Suze.
Yeah,
I'm a big Suze fan.
Me too.
Yeah, well, that's a big part because that's something somebody told me. Like, as an artist, it's your responsibility. Like, you can't go into debt and just be like, oh, I'm an artist, because it's not going to serve you well. It's really just going to screw you.
Right, and you know what? There are some people that I know right now that continue in the community that continue to ask for lack of better word, handouts, which I think everybody, I think some Kickstarters are wonderful. I think some fundraisers are wonderful, if you have a really special project. But the kind of like repeat offender aspect of it sometimes, I know everybody's in a different position, so I'm not going to attempt to comment on anyone else's things, but that's one of those things that I think is like, it is a responsibility. And if it means that I need to get a 9-to-5 to push my own art, then I will. I've been...
That's what you have to do.
Yeah, lucky enough where that hasn't been the situation. But there's a whole gamut of needs and wants, and, everyone handles that differently.
Oh, yeah, but it is show business. And at the end of the day, I think exploring and staying in the longevity of it and being able to produce content is going to require you to understand the business element of it, even if, you're just a thousandaire. I'll never be a millionaire.
That's
I'm
okay.
a thousandaire.
Well, this is the thing is so what I've also lately started to attempt to like remind myself or convince myself of is I feel like performing art, burlesque, dance, whatever, umbrella you're in, because this doesn't have to be just for a burlesque performer. But I do think it's one of those things where if you stay in the game, eventually you'll win, right? Which is, winning is a very abstract idea. I don't know if I'll know if I've won at some point, because I don't think it's like, oh, well, I'll own a home, which congratulations, Angie.
Thank you. I won.
You won. But no, it's like, I think to myself, like, maybe winning something else, like, I don't know. That's kind of an open-ended statement, I guess. But I just think, like, if you're in it and you're honest and you're passionate about following your path, because everyone's should be different, then eventually you'll find that moment of like the pinnacle moment that just feels like you've done it.
Well, I think that you are winning because you are one of the biggest boylesque names, in the scene. You've done all the big festivals and events. You've performed at amazing shows. You've got a fantastic resume. So I think that is winning, and part of being at that place is like, you can hit it and you can get a couple great gigs and then just, disappear softly into the night.
Sure.
But part of winning is sustaining that. And I think that you're doing
Well,
that.
Thanks, Angie. It's nice to hear.
I know you're doing that. But just because we're talking about this right now, too, so let's talk about Gorgeous by Gorgeous, which is your costume line. First of all, how did you learn to sew?
Well, going back to circus, essentially, was when I was performing in circus, a lot of the corporate circus gigs, like corporate meaning like a casino would hire you, or a special event would hire you to do an acrobatic thing or whatever. Oftentimes those people either have a set, those companies have a set catalog of costuming that they use, or they say, okay, you guys have this event coming up and we need you to be in gold and black, Art Deco concepted costumes. And I didn't have the money to pay someone else to make me a costume. And often the costumes that these companies had didn't fit me because I was too big.
Yeah.
So it really was just out of necessity. I mean, I've never taken a sewing class.
Are you serious?
No. It's all self-taught. So I just kind of, right? So I've never taken a sewing class. I mean, in school, I did a lot of sculpture, and I have my MFA, and I did both painting and sculpture kind of combination. So I'm very like hands-on with material, but I've taught myself all of the sewing that I do.
I'm in complete and absolute shock.
Oh, thanks, Angie.
That's amazing.
Thanks.
I mean, and I'm not surprised because, I totally thought you were going to be like, oh, I learned to sew when I was a little kid. My grandma taught me or something like that, because your sewing is amazing. But now that I know about your MFA in sculpture, because you integrate like 3D elements and this insanity into all of your works, that is just like, for my brain, I'm like, how the frick did he do that?
Oh, thanks. So yeah, it was kind of just self-taught, really out of necessity. And then, at one point somebody was like, oh, well, that looked great. Like, could you, like, here's some fabric. Could you do something for me? And I started doing that, and it kind of caught on to where I was just commissioned to make, pieces. I had a whole group of things in front of me to work on.
See, and I think this is a great thing for performing artists too, is to find something else that you can supplement your career with, especially if you're burlesque focused.
Yeah.
Because it's always a good idea to have that secondary thing there and to feed it and nurture it and build it.
Yeah.
So that's just crazy. And so that really took off as well. And you've made costumes for some pretty famous people. You made my daughter's 1-year-old Halloween costume.
I did. That was so
Creature
cute.
From the Lagoon. Like, that was so amazing.
Oh my God.
But did you make President Obama's dog a costume?
I did. He was a pirate, Bo. He was a pirate. I don't know. So there was two things I did. The Obamas, every year, they always had a gigantic sculpture of the dog that was dressed for Halloween on the lawn when the kids would come trick-or-treat. And then I also made, which I saw that, and then I also made an actual costume for the dog, which I don't have any photo of. I don't know if it actually ever took place, but I actually drove up in my busted, broken down 4Runner, literally up to the door of the White House.
Stop it.
I'm not kidding you. I went through all the levels of security. A friend of mine was the head of the floral department for the White House. And so I got the job through him. He gave me the information for that. And so like I literally rolled up, and I didn't think I'd actually be going to the actual White House, but I got there, and like, the door swings open, like garbage comes falling out of my car. And like, I was like, where am I? And they were like, you're at the side door of side or back door of the White House. And I went right into the floral shop that they have on location there, and got to do all kinds of cool stuff. So.
Oh my God, that's so exciting.
Yeah, super neat.
Oh my gosh. You need to have like a line at Target of like little doggy costumes.
I would love that. Well, that's the thing now, is I'm trying to think of how to do, a bit more, but I have to give you one of my biggest shout outs. Was you helped kind of get me one of my big moments, which was dressing Lady Gaga for the show with Brian. She does with Brian at the Nomad.
That was so exciting. I'm so happy that worked out.
Thrilling, and I'm so thankful you were able to facilitate all that for me. Thank you.
Well, listen, I've given Gaga a lot of things, and I've never once has she stopped everything, put it on, and worn it out. It was so, but even that, like, you know her style. You took one look at her, and you knew what size it was going to be. Yeah. It was perfect. It had like that 3D construction of like that swoosh that came off the shoulder. It was beautiful. I was when she walked into the club that night with that on, I couldn't text you fast enough. I was like, oh!
It really was one of those things. And I actually think that is a wonderful thing to think about also when I talk to other performers or other artists and they're like, oh, how did you get to where you were and what did you do and da da da. And I think it's important to acknowledge when you have those moments, whether they be big or small, of like a pop of energy where you're reassured that you're doing good things. It doesn't mean you have to. Yeah, it's like, people, I think, put too much weight on certain things like, oh, I didn't get into the festival, or, oh, I didn't win the title. It's like, yeah, but guess what you're doing? Like, you have the amount of time to put together an application. You put the time and energy into a costuming and the concept. It's like, people do so many things that they overlook as being an achievement. But that was a big achievement for me when I saw her in that look. But it was like these little pops of energy really help get you to the next moment of like,
Well, and they are validating too. They inspire you, and you're like, okay, yes, this is where I should be going. This is what I should be doing.
Yeah,
I'm heading in the right direction.
Yeah, exactly.
And I feel like too, like what you said earlier, if you stay in the game long enough and that's how you get to winning. It is that way too, because then you meet people who know other people and connect you to other people.
Yeah.
Like, the florist at the White House, you're dressing Bo. Wasn't the dog's name Bo?
Bo, yeah. Bo.
Yeah. Oh, I miss you, Bo.
I know. I miss them so much. Oh.
Come back.
Lord Jesus.
Even if it's just Bo, please.
He'd do better than our current.
Yes, absolutely. But, when you stay in show business and you're there and you're kind to the people around you, I think that's the big thing, too.
Yeah.
It's like you get to this point where everybody really does help each other. And when I look at the biggest gigs that I've ever gotten, they have been usually through people that I know or through people that I've worked with. It's, very rarely have I gotten the phone call out of the blue that's like, hey, I don't know you at all. I saw you on Instagram and I want to fly you in my private jet.
Exactly.
It's always the relationships that you make and the groundwork that you lay, I think.
I agree. And, I have to give a little baby shout out here. But, someone who, when I first moved to New York, I was literally unsure of how I was going to take care of things. I just knew I needed to be here. I moved here. I was working for a trapeze company at the time. But Bambi the Mermaid called me up and literally was like, I hear you make costumes. I have like a body of costumes that I want to be made. And like, this is the general concept. And I came to her house and she was like, do whatever you want. Like, make whatever you want. But this is like the general vibe of all these pieces. And she handed me some cash, and to me, it was a ton of money. And I went out and I was like literally floating down the street. And it was like, she's been a consistent person that's always given me fun, weird, wacky projects and has just been like a wonderful, I call her mom. She calls me her son. She's just a really, really wonderful mentor, on and off stage. So that's been, it's just another New York moment of meeting someone great.
Yeah. And Bambi is such a loving person and very supportive. And
yeah.
I remember for my daughter's birthday party, she brought all these mermaid tails that you had made.
Oh, yeah.
And all the little kids were swimming in these mermaid tails, and Bambi was dressed as a mermaid and doing all these mermaid makeovers with Little Miss Licks, and like the kids were just going insane over it. And the tails were beautiful.
Oh, well, thanks.
So you sell online at festivals, when we have festivals, when people can be out in the world. You're typically there with this big, beautiful booth, and you have off-the-rack stuff. But you also do a lot of customs as well,
Thanks.
right?
Yeah, I do a lot of custom work. And that's kind of what I love doing the custom work. But it also, as you know, it's very time consuming in the sense where I get excited and I'm like, yeah, let's make that. Let's do it. And then it's like, ooh, sometimes it's a quick turnaround. Sometimes it's, someone calls and it's like, did you forget about me? No, I didn't. I'm just doing 85 other pieces too. But
you're like, it haunts me day and night.
Yeah, but like, I have the Etsy store, which has a lot of my like ready-made stuff and a few other like leotards that are a bit more like advanced, I would say, on there. Yeah, so that's going really well. And I like having all of that so that it's kind of accessible to anyone that just wants something fun and flashy. And oftentimes I actually get a lot of performers that are like, oh my God, I got this for my husband or my boyfriend or my girlfriend or whatever. because you don't have to be a performer to like every now and then put on that fun, flashy thing that just feels cool.
No, but I wear a lot of the stuff that you've made me. I wear on stage, of course, but I wear a lot of it when I work out, and I wear a lot of it when I teach my dance classes.
Yeah,
because it's really comfortable, and I don't take it off afterwards. The other day, after I taught one of my online classes, I was sitting outside on my porch in that one piece that you made me, the gold striped one. I was sitting out on my porch having a Campari and soda, and I felt like a superhero.
Oh, thanks. I love that. I have another fun little piece coming your way soon, so you have to keep your eye out.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
I want to talk about boylesque, but before I switch back to that, I want to say with you too, and this is why I can't believe that you're just self-taught and you never took any design classes or anything. I remember when we were working on one project and you were like, I want to do this one piece, and I want to like do this like net details on the thighs and all this. And so my whole life, I'm literally 5'2", and I'm like basically a mini football player in my body type. Like my two biggest fears have been covering myself from neck to ankle and like pointing out my thighs in any way. Usually I'm just like, no, just make the thighs look smaller, make the thighs look smaller. But I was like, you know what? I trust you, and I'm going to like go down this road. And it is literally my favorite piece that I have from you.
Oh, thank you.
And whenever I wear it, people freak out about it. And they're like, oh my God, look, you look amazing. But those were like, you helped me confront two of my fears.
Oh, thanks, Angie. Well, I mean, come on, you look incredible. So, the spandex suit was just, exclamation point on how fab you look. But you know what I love about those suits, though, I have to say, is people are often like, I think sometimes people think like, well, where would I wear that, or what would I do? It's like it's almost like superhero or like wrestling style, like the glamorous women of wrestling glow. It's like, but I think there's something kind of fun about that stuff where if you can just throw on, because I always wear before shows, at intermission, after shows, I go out and talk to the audience and see people and take photos, and I always wear some fun little bodysuit. And it's like, if you put on a leotard, a pair of black fishnets, or any kind of fishnet stocking, and like a pump, and you can own the room in that shit. Like it's not an athletic
it's cozy.
Thing. Exactly.
It's comfortable.
It won't wrinkle. You don't have to iron it. You ball it up when you're done.
Yes, I know. And those things all really speak to me. As a working mom with a busy schedule.
That's right.
I love spandex.
Oh, Angie.
I'm gonna go pick up Sissy from school in that outfit next year.
Oh my God, you're like superhero mom.
Oh my God, I felt so powerful in it. I literally, one day when I was wearing it, there was a spiral staircase, and I grabbed onto the edge of it, and I was like doing pull-ups, and I was like, look at me.
I love that.
No, but it's good. It makes you feel good. So everybody get a one-piece unitard from Mr. Gorgeous.
Well, thanks.
With thigh accents.
Why not?
Why not?
Accent it.
All right, so I want to talk to you about boylesque, because I feel that the boylesque scene, we always have had Tigger, who's been around since the beginning of the neo movement. But I felt like boylesque really started to pick up a lot of steam in 2008, 9, 10, where it really started to become its own entity.
Yeah.
And I felt like you just really just shot out of that cannon, and established yourself as a big star of it. And I remember watching a show, and I can't remember if it was at Beehoff or somewhere else, because my brain is a blur. And I was just so entertained by all the boylesque acts. And I felt that they had an energy that kind of started to dissipate a little bit in burlesque, where, most of the women were coming out and performing classic acts and probably feeling a pressure to be like, okay, I have to do a corset and a gown and do this glamorous classic act. And then the guys were just coming out and they were just off the walls, all these amazing concepts and themes and performances. And I felt that there was maybe a little bit more freedom in the genre of boylesque at that time. And it was like a breath of fresh air.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny you say that, because I think that it's kind of a blessing and a curse. However you identify as a female-bodied person or a male-bodied person or somewhere in between, I think that we're all kind of given a set of rules in a weird way, that aren't really in front of you, but in your mind, it's like, okay, well, if you're a glamorous woman, if you're doing burlesque, at some point, someone's going to say like, well, you don't do a glove peel, or where's the fan dance, or where's the corset or the stocking peel, or, all these kind of things. And it's like, I think that That's a wonderful fundamental. It's a great tool. It's a great thing to have or not in your performance. But I think as a male-bodied performer or male-identifying performer, I didn't really feel like I had a real rule system set up in front of me or a guideline for anything. In fact, when I started doing burlesque, I didn't even know what I was doing. It was just like, make it up as you go. What would be entertaining? So I think, as a male performer, there wasn't really much of I didn't really have, Tigger was certainly a role model. I'm not suggesting I didn't have a role model, but there was no one that I was like, oh wow, I guess as a male I should be doing this or I should be doing that.
Right.
It was kind of just like what would work.
Well, and I guess essentially too, if you really look at history, while there were men performing in burlesque in the 50s and the 60s and the 40s even, you don't really see that on the Something Weird videos too often. You don't really see that in the burlesque books that are out there and well known. And maybe it's there, I'm not sure. But
right.
So there wouldn't have been such a path to follow.
Right. And also, Scott Ewalt is like such an amazing historian for male bodies and male performers and gay, sex and clubs and events and all that stuff. And I remember him talking to me about like, oh, there was this performer that worked in Times Square back when, and he would do this and they would do that. And it all seemed very, I guess kind of like dated in the sense of like what the content was. Like it was beautiful. Like I thought the visuals were amazing and the performers were so high energy and so cool. But I looked at that and I thought, well, that's not me. I actually, clearly I take my clothes off in burlesque, but when someone's like, oh, you're a stripper, it's like, well, sure, I'm proud to say I'm a stripper or a sex worker or however you want to categorize it, but I've never thought of myself as like a Chippendale dancer or a Thunder from Down Under. So in the sense of like a role model or a corporate thing, it's like, if someone said to me like, oh, would you want to be a girl at the Crazy Horse? I would say 1000% yes. If someone said to me, would you want to be a guy dancer on Thunder from Down Under? I would be like, absolutely not.
Thunder from Down Under is pretty entertaining.
I love it.
Have you seen it?
I love it. I've never seen it live. I have a lot of respect for those types of bodied performers, but I'm like, I just don't. I look at that and I'm like, well, where does someone dressed as a hermit crab come into play?
Right. Completely, to have those liberties. And I don't want to insinuate that there aren't female bodied performers that do perform in that area and do wacky and neo and crazy stuff.
Yeah.
But I just remember when I saw this show, it took me back to the beginning of the burlesque scene in New York City where there was so much crazy stuff. And this is coming from me, who is pretty much a classical performer.
Yeah.
If I'm performing, I'm probably going to have a glove or a boa or a fan or something really classic. But it just took me back to that point in time where everybody was balls to the walls crazy and you never knew what you were going to see. And I felt like it was that breath of fresh air in a world where, especially on the larger stages, a lot of the performers might feel pressured to perform in a certain classic style.
Right.
If they wanted to win at Burlesque Hall of Fame, or if you want to be a headlining featured performer, there's this kind of like this overriding feeling that this is what you have to do.
Yeah.
This is the formula to success.
Yeah.
And I think definitely the guys kind of came in and the male-bodied performers came in and really just did
kind of shake it up a little bit. It's kind of funny though, because I and this is like an ongoing, I could probably change my opinion on it depending on what day you talk to me. But it was really interesting because I think when I started working in New York, and I know that there were more than this, so I'm going to be missing people, but it was like I saw the people that were working in my circle as like, I'd see Johnny Porkpie sometimes, I'd see Tigger sometimes, I'd see Monkey sometimes, but then Chris Harder and myself, I'd see him often too. And it was like, other than that, there was no like real other, I don't even want to say competition, but the reason I bring up that number, that small number compared to the amount of male performers in New York specifically right now, which is, I couldn't even tell you how many, it's a ton of them, was that people would say to me sometimes like, oh, well, there aren't that many guys, so of course you get booked all the time because there aren't that many. Or someone would say like, oh, well, of course, you can headline that festival because there's not that many guys. But sometimes the argument for me was like, first of all, crap on you for deciding that I'm getting a free ride out of this because I'm a male identifying body. But it's also that my kind of argument, I guess, to them, if I ever argued with someone, was it's a really big responsibility, I think, for a male performer to acknowledge the position that you're in a largely female-dominated woman's world here and respect that. And also, when you're put on the bill as a headliner for a burlesque show where the audience is coming to see all different types of women, or female type bodies, all of a sudden when like a big gay dude comes out, dressed in a stupid costume, it's like, how do I sell to that audience that I'm worthy enough to hold their attention? And it's like, so I think in some ways it's like, sure, I guess there was a smaller pool for them to pick from, but it took a lot for those producers to decide that I could handle that role as a headlining position. So it was always a little funny to me,
And there was nothing forcing those producers to go to that pool. They could have just been like, we don't need a boylesque performer.
Exactly. And and the thing is, like, I think that part of why I was fortunate and lucky to have a lot of those positions and those jobs is because what I think a lot of people forget in burlesque and performing and in art is we're not curing cancer here. Like, it's a total privilege. It's a total privilege and a really disposable art form in some ways. I say that not that don't find value in it, because it's my life. It's my heart and soul. I don't know where I'd be if I didn't have burlesque in my life. But it's something that, like, if you're not there to add something to someone's life in a positive way, I don't know what the goal is. So my thought is, like, the reason I go out and I talk to people before the show and during the show and after the show and take pictures and thank them for coming and all those things is because they have many other choices of what they could be doing. And the fact that I get to be an ambassador for burlesque is a privilege.
No, well, and you on top of being a headlining performer, and that you certainly have the talent and the chops to back that up, having worked with you for so long and been in so many situations with you, you always show up, no matter what the situation is. And we've been in situations that are amazing and situations that aren't, but you always show up, and you always make the best of it.
Well,
you always have a positive attitude, and I think that that's really important. And being professional within burlesque, I think, is a huge element of somebody to have a really fulfilling career.
Thank you. I always have fun. If it's not fun, I'm not doing it. That's just kind of one of my mottos anyway. So,
well, I always feel like if it's not fun, I don't think I could do it. If I show up to a space and I don't feel welcomed, or I don't feel like that something good is going on, I can't fake that on stage. I can fake through a show that maybe I'm just not feeling it.
Definitely.
Or if I'm not sure where the audience is. But if it's not right, if it's not fun, if it doesn't have the good vibes, I can't fake that fun.
I agree. And, I guess the other motto I might have is, if it's not fun, I better have a good story to tell about it afterwards.
Yeah, seriously. Well, yeah. Seriously. And I know you've got a lot of excellent stories.
Well, thanks.
So I want to talk about the Chippendales and the Thunder from Down Under, and I think it's hilarious that you mentioned that, because they're literally on my question sheet.
Oh my God.
So, when you go, I have gone to see the Chippendales, I have gone and see the Thunder from Down Under, I went to go see Magic Mike, I was basically a regular there.
Which I heard is an amazing show.
It's an amazing show. It's really, really great. And so you go to see these, strip reviews, and they have a real element of humor in them, which is a huge part of burlesque. I mean, in Magic Mike, they're like reading poetry and then doing a headstand in your lap, and it's kind of really overwhelming and exciting. But it is different than boylesque, and I just wanted to get your opinion on what you think that difference is.
I think a lot of it, what it comes down to, is marketing and branding. And, I think that that's a big part of it. And especially with social media for the past very long time being a thing, we all get to see an image. People get to pick the best part of their day. And you see that photo of their day, or you see the way their body looks in a certain light. And it's edited and filtered or not, but oftentimes it's a very curated thing. And I think visual branding,
it's oiled.
Yeah, I'm available for oiling. But it's a very curated brand and a very curated visual. And I think that they are very similar, but for burlesque and boylesque and myself more particular, the visual I want to highlight is the accessibility of nudity and the joy of it not being something we all get naked at some point during the day. When you take a shower, everybody is naked, and it's like I look at some of those bodies, and although when I was doing circus and all that stuff, like, if I stood in the light the right way, you'd see a little ab or you'd see a little peck or whatever. But I've never identified as like those dancers that were muscly and sculpted and all of that kind of stuff. I also have never been a mover. I can't, when you try to teach me a group opening or closing number, I really can't dance or move to save my life, So I look at those productions and they're very dance heavy and choreo heavy, and it's very focused on the visual of the body, not so much like, I don't know if I've ever seen a Chippendale dancer or a Thunder from Down Under in like a fully rhinestoned feather showboy look. I mean, maybe they have, but the costumes for those shows technically is like a pair of ripped jeans and like a white tank top that they rip open.
Yeah, that they rip open.
Yeah,
totally.
Which I love that. I love that. But I'm like, that's just not, I can't relate to that.
Well, it's formulaic, I think. And also, there's really no spontaneity in these shows. I feel like these shows, and I'm a big fan, gotta say. They do the same thing, and even in the interactive bits with the audience, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
And they're actors or dancers playing a part. Whereas I think burlesque enables you to play yourself.
I 1000% agree. That's a great quote or a great line. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of why, when I started out, I wanted to be a dancer and be on Broadway. And then I just was like, but I only want to be me in a fabulous costume. I'm really not interested. I really just want to be me in fake eyelashes and a headdress doing a really fun dance. That's the only role that I want.
I agree. So, it's when people talk sometimes, when people say though, well, what's the difference between, when you're just Eric or when you're Mr. Gorgeous? It's like Mr. Gorgeous is a character that I play. I have no problem. Like if I'm not in a costume and an outfit and a whatever, it's very, very rare that I'll walk up to anybody, like a lighting tech person or, someone that owns the theater or whatever. I'll never go up there in like a regular outfit and say, hi, I'm Mr. Gorgeous. Because I'm not in that character mode yet. The thing is, though, the reality is the difference between Eric and Mr. Gorgeous is a very, very, very fine line.
I think that becomes a common fine line for all of us that stay in it long enough.
Yeah.
Because you can't help but cross those hairs.
Totally.
It's the same thing for me. Angie Pontani and Angie on stage are pretty much the same person.
Yeah.
One wears more makeup.
Which one?
Not the one that you're looking at right now.
You look glam right now.
Okay.
What are you talking about?
So how do you, being Mr. Gorgeous, it's a thin line, there's a lot of crossover. Where do you find your inspiration for your acts? How do you come up with them? What inspires you to create your on-stage masterpieces?
Yes, well, for me, and maybe this is also why I love creating and building costumes so much, is because it's a very visual process for me. I'm one of those performers or people that I tend to like think of the visual. I could create the costume, have the whole thing done, and I could technically perform the act live or attempt it that night, and then realize, like, on my way to the venue, I haven't even picked a song yet.
Oh!
Like, I'm not, that's in my sense of, I know visually the shapes I want to make and the visual gimmicks that people are going to see, and the music, which is why I love performing with a live band, is because I don't have to worry about a time frame, or I don't have to worry about an accent necessarily in the music. Like, so for me, my process is more like, I think of like, oh God, that fabric I just saw is fucking amazing. Or like the feathers that are there are just beautiful, or whatever it is. Or I want to see, how can I make myself look taller? Or how can I make myself look, whatever. It goes, for me, it starts with a visual concept. It is, I'd say 10% of the time I hear a song and I think, oh, I got to use that song at some point.
That's so funny. I'm the song. I hear the song, and that's what fuels me. Whenever I start with a costume and try to find a song, it takes me a much longer time to find that perfect fit.
Yeah, but I think that also goes back to, though, like your ability as a dancer and understanding rhythm and musicality and all these things. Whereas for me, like, I don't, I taught a class one time in a dance-based burlesque, festival type thing where they said, oh, well, can you just teach like a movement class? And I taught a class called Crap, I Can't Dance. And it was all based on visual shapes and movement you can make that aren't based in dance technique or choreography or timing or, because I don't have that. That's not one of my skill sets.
But what you do have is the awareness of your body from your circus training. You know where to put your weight to make the proper shapes. And I think that is more important. Sometimes I feel like having too much dance training in burlesque can be a detriment, because I feel like one of the most important things is not being married to choreography so hard that you neglect the audience. Like, if my mind is too far into my dancing, then I don't have that connection with the audience. So I feel like if you can just make the right shapes, what you can do, and know where your hits are, everything else is just, filling. It's just fluff. You shouldn't be out there doing pirouettes and fan kicks.
I totally agree. And, that's actually part of why what I love is, like, if you're teaching, because I know you often will do like a chair choreo class or glove peel or fan dance. Like when you're touring, you'll offer workshops and things like that. And I think that those are so great for people to take those fundamental classes and like understand tools in the toolbox of shapes you can make, or little phrases that you can incorporate. But I think that the most upsetting thing is when I see someone. I used to teach an acrobatic chair class and I would teach a sequence. And then if I would see someone in a show all of a sudden have the same sequence that I taught, which is totally fine, but they're not doing themselves a service by limiting themselves. It's kind of like, I do think that I had a nice little pop of success at the beginning that kind of got my ball rolling, because no one put in front of me a set of rules or choreography to follow. I was being inspired by a lot of people. I was, influenced by a lot of people, but nobody ever said to me, you can do this and you can't do that.
I had a conversation with Kitten DeVille. She was my first guest on the podcast, and she was saying something similar about how it was almost a benefit to us in the beginning to not have access to all these classes and not have access to everybody's performance that they did last night on YouTube or on Instagram. Because our creations were a little bit more organic, and you can have inspiration, but sometimes I feel like now it's a little bit beyond inspiration. And I don't think people are like, oh, I'm copying you. I think sometimes new performers will look and say, oh, this is the burlesque choreography.
This is what you do. This is what you do. Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. It's interesting. All of that's so interesting as far as like being influenced by certain things. I remember every now and then, this doesn't happen much anymore, but someone would say, oh, well, did you go to the New York School of Burlesque? And which I love. It's a wonderful school, and they have amazing resources. And Jo Weldon teaches, like, she has a great curriculum for people that really want to like understand the tools for the toolbox.
Yes.
And advanced stuff too. But like, I've never taken a burlesque class. I didn't think that I was supposed to do that. Like, I don't know.
I don't think there are rules that define what the curriculum of burlesque really is. And I think it is amazing to take a class. And I think the climate has changed now too, that if you want to get started, that's probably the best way to get into it now, because you're going to meet other people.
Well, that's a big part of it really, is like, the way I met people was by working till 3:30 in the morning, at some shitty club, and I'd run into like, the producer of this, or I'd be having drinks with that person or whatever. And it was kind of like hey, I'm doing this thing next week. You want to do it? Great. And then when you're there, you meet someone else, you meet someone else, you meet someone else. So, the New York School is an amazing resource, because at your fingertips are a lot of seasoned New York-based performers that have shows themselves or know producers for shows or what. So there's a lot of, wonderful things coming to that. But, I never took a burlesque class, when people would say that, I'd almost be like, what are you talking about?
Oh yeah. Well, the concept
understand.
I think is so foreign to those of us who have been around for a long time, because there wasn't even any really at that time, and it didn't really work like that. But I think one of the great things about Joe's school too, and most of the burlesque schools out there, is that there are so many people who are just intrigued by burlesque. Like, they go to a show, they don't want to be a performer. They just want to be like, I want to feel sexy and cute and, do this move. And they fulfill that with Joe's program or whatever program they're going to. And that just kind of helps to enhance the fan base of burlesque.
Definitely. It's important. And also, I think that I hope that people realize that, that is sometimes a great place to be, is just to acknowledge that it feels good to do it. Or, it's like some people find it therapeutic. I mean, when I hear people say that, I'm really happy that they've found that as an outlet. I think it's really funny because I really do see this as my profession and my job. So as much as I love it and enjoy it, I've never seen it as an outlet for exploring who I am, or feeling good about my body, or
but that's because you've always known who you are. When you were a little kid roller skating in your garage with a freaking curtain that you constructed with your karaoke set.
Listen,
you knew
if I had a garage door with a motor on it right now, I'd be out there right now.
I have a garage door, but it doesn't have a motor. Brian's gonna have to stand out and lift it and close it for me. But
well, that's all right. I'll give him the tips. Don't worry.
No, but you knew who. I think we're lucky in show business, those of us who, realized it from a young age, whether we were aware of that we wanted to follow it or not. It's I always knew what I wanted to do. I tried to convince myself I wanted to be a veterinarian or a journalist for a minute, but I was like, girl, you suck. You can't do that.
Well, and the other thing is I also, I also really do, one of the wonderful things about burlesque is that there really isn't a age limit or a time frame or you have to do this, you have to do that. I think that there's so many places for people to exist, and it doesn't always mean because you took a burlesque class or because you have a burlesque costume that you need to be on a stage. I actually think that sometimes is a disservice to people, for them to think that they have to perform or they have to get a booking or they have to do whatever. I think that in some ways it's not it doesn't really actually benefit the burlesque world as a whole. In some ways, I think that it can sometimes be confusing for people to feel the pressure to be a part of the community. Doesn't mean you have to be live on stage and book this and I'll produce this and I'll produce that. It's there's a lot of that going on, which, some of it's wonderful, but
some of it is wonderful and it's a great platform. But I agree. I think that when people do start to study burlesque and get into it, they feel a certain pressure to kind of follow through with it. And I think for some people, it could just be a fun thing that they do. You go take a jazzercise class,
Exactly.
You're not going to be in Chicago.
Exactly. And the thing is, those people that might be going with the intention of I'm just going to go and have a good workout doing a chair class. Or I want to learn how to do a fun tease, whatever. All of a sudden, that person that just wanted to take a class might find themselves killing it on stage and all over the place. It's anything can happen, but I just don't like the idea of the pressure of progression of someone saying, okay, well, you've done this class and you've done that class, so now you should try to get a booking here. It's I don't think that that's healthy.
Once again, formulaic. That's the word of the day.
Right?
But it is, and I think that kind of I have always thought formulas, patterns, repetition, everybody following the same progression is really boring. But I think that's why when boylesque came along, it really shook things up, and it got the female presenting performers to kind of re-energize a bit and get out of that pattern, because the boylesque scene was coming out with such amazing stuff, great props, great concepts, really off the wall, And that's with that chair number you do. You say you just come up with a costume and you roll to the venue, but you have to practice balancing on a toddler chair.
Yeah, I mean, you do have to practice all of that stuff, but I also have to say that a lot of my inspiration and the fun moments of my ice cream act where I sit on the big ice cream cone, or the chair act where I'm doing the stocking peel in the chair, all of those are also influenced by women in burlesque. I take a lot of my inspiration from female performers, that I think are just glamorous and embody like up just a powerful stage presence. And I watch what they do, and I really inform a lot of my decisions by that. So it's kind of a two-way street. It's kind of cool that, like, the boylesque scene pops up, not pops up, has just another wave of energy coming through. And, it's great when that can inform a body or a group of people. But then also, like, I really look to, female, performers, and it's just, it goes both ways. So it's kind of cool.
Well, and you've come out too, like you always have these giant props, which is, those are an endeavor in and of itself. But I think of your giant ice cream that you sit on, your lobster claws, and so many things that don't fit into a tiny duffel bag.
That's true. Very true.
So you get 10 extra points for props.
Thanks. I'll take them.
Yeah. When you won King of Boylesque, Mr. Exotic World at the Burlesque Hall of Fame, that was 2014, right?
Yes.
Okay. Did you go there, like, to win? Were you like, I've got this, did you create a new number? Did you, like, blow it out?
I had competed the 2 years prior as well. And for me, it was really just an opportunity to... Because when I applied, you can apply to compete or perform, or compete or perform as far as applications go. Mm-hmm. So each time I was in the competition category instead of just the performing on the Thursday night. And my goal was never like to go to take that title. It was more just I wanted to be able to showcase like my work and for people to see what I was doing. And, it was just a nice platform to present the work. In 2013, I won the most comedic performance for the night, which in some ways that kind of carried a little bit more weight for me. Not that I'm not thankful for the Mr. Exotic World title, but for me, that was kind of like that people could relate to my comedy and understand my language was one of the first really big stepping stones and achievements for me. But yeah, I didn't go in saying like, oh God, I got to win this. Was I glad that I won it? Of course, it felt great.
No, it's another affirmation. And did you create an act for it, or did you go with a tried and true?
No, I had a kind of a tried and true. I've been doing the little chair act that I won the most comedic with. I've been doing since 2006, and I still do it almost weekly when our clubs are open here.
Yes.
And like the ice cream act that I won with, I had been doing for probably a year or two after that. In different variations, it had grown. It had taken a few different costume changes and a few different prop changes, and to get to the point of Vegas. But
are you practicing your stunts at home right now? Are you balancing on the chair?
Actually, I think I mentioned this to you a little while back, but I had kind of had a little dry spell with act creation and just inspiration for a little while. And it was a very scary time because I thought, is this it? Am I just going to cycle through this body of work that I have, because I just love the creation. And right now I'd say like halfway through, I've been working really hard on a new act that's my biggest prop to date, and definitely it's stressful at a time like this, but definitely by far my most expensive creation, which cost aside, I think it's going to be a really big visual, big glam, comedic kind of thing. So I'm hoping that by the time we get through this summer, I'll have a new act to present.
Oh, that's really exciting.
Yeah.
I was thinking the other day, like, I wish I had some inspiration, because I'm feeling pretty low on inspiration right now, but I'm like, I wish I had some inspiration to be working on something throughout this time that's new. And I tried, right when this started, I had met with a costumer and we started talking about it. Yeah. And then it was like, this happened, and he was like, I don't think I can really do this right now. I don't think I can get any of the materials.
Yeah.
But maybe soon we can get back to it, because it would be nice to be working on something for a potential returning to work. You think we'll ever work again?
Yeah, of course we will. I have to tell myself that, because I'm like, oh my God, there's no way. There's no way. I think it will happen. I think it will happen. I think that it will, just take time and We'll see. Hopefully soon.
I know this dashed. We were supposed to be in Las Vegas in April together.
I know.
You were going to come do this show at the Newman. We were going to have late nights and long days at the spa.
I know. I'm hoping at some point we'll be able to make, if not that exact thing happen, something similar of, having another time together to travel and hopefully get to work with Brian, and that's all so fun.
It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. The show will be back in Vegas. After Dark will be back. We were just talking about it today and looking at some potential dates. And
great,
you have to come out because it's so much fun, and I know that audience would love you.
Well, thank you. I would love to be there, and I have to thank you and Jen Capay so much for always having such a fabulous festival and really allowing me to present my work through all my different stages of growth and burlesque. And you have just been such a constant good friend, but also like an amazing producer, performer, and someone to really look up to in the scene. So thank you for the platform, Angie.
Oh, thank you, gorgeous. Thank you for always being there and being such an amazing performer and friend. And we always have fun together, too. And you have an excellent sense of humor.
Listen to all of our compliments. We're just patting each other on the back. Also, not to mention,
amazing.
What a lot of people don't realize is once the show's done, Angie and I, or whoever's with us, Maine, Albert, whoever, we all go back and have a little cooking night, which Angie always makes a good late night after show meal. And that's always so much fun.
That's like kind of almost my favorite part. Like, I love being on stage. I love the shows. But when we get back to our Airbnb and we have like our adult teenage sleepover party.
I love it.
Remember we had matching t-shirts that one time?
We had matching t-shirts and shitty box wine, and we just cook all night long.
Yes, and it's so much fun. I miss those days.
I know.
We'll be back soon.
I hope so. I hope so.
I know. I miss that shitty boxed wine.
Well, I can bring some to your house. Don't worry, Angie.
Great. Thank you so much for being on the Bump and Grind, gorgeous. I can't wait until the world opens up and to see your new act and what you've been working on, and then to get your cute little buns down to Vegas, over to Vegas.
I would love that. Thanks, Angie. I miss you, and this was so much fun chatting with you. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye, girl.
And that's it for another episode of the Bump and Grind. Keep up with the antics of Mr. Gorgeous at Gorgeous Boylesque on Instagram, where you can find links to his Etsy shop and make all your spandex dreams come true. Seriously, check it out. His outfits are amazing. They feel so good, and you feel so good in them. And you can find me on Instagram at Angie Pontani. Until next time, keep twirling.
This has been a Giant Panda King production. You can find us at giantpandaking.com and on Instagram at giantpandaking.